All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition of the Call Up Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Kenny, and today I'm glad and happy to speak to the man they call Mr. Ego, Mr. Machine, Tony Vargas. What's going on, brother?
Good, man. How are you?
Not bad, man. Living another day.
Nice. I can't complain either.
Definitely. So I'm glad you came on the show. I've been following you for a good while now. Indie, pro wrestler / collector, which is great. Yeah. So, what is your why? Like, why did you get into wrestling in the first place?
For me, it was just something I've loved since day one. Growing up, no one really likes going to their grandparents, but when I used to go to my grandparents, my dad would throw on some VHS tapes of old school wrestling, and I was just like, whoa, these are like larger than life characters. And to me, those were my superheroes. So just day one, I just fell in love with it. The stories, the bad guys, the good guys, just everything about it was just intriguing to me. Like, back in the day, Kenny Shibuya and stuff like that. Just he grew up in Hayward, where I grew up, and seeing him at the liquor store, and I was just like, oh, I can't talk to him because he's a bad guy. And it's just stuff like that. It just intrigued me from day one. Like, just everything about them, their athletics. And I mean, again, back in the day, they were monsters. So as a young kid, I was just like, whoa, these are like, comic characters off of the pages into real life, So I would say since day one, I just loved pro wrestling.
Yeah, it's funny that when I see to a lot of people and I ask them, like, when did they start falling in love with wrestling? The one thing that they always go back to is like their grandparents. It's like, oh yeah, like for me, like my grandmother was the one who introduced me into wrestling. And then she fell out of love with it. I got more into it and seeing like Hulk Hogan, Sergeant Slaughter, Warrior, Piper, like the old school era of like WWF, and then moving on to like the Attitude Era. So it's it's great. Like when I talk to other people and they they share that same passion.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, it's just something like even to this day, my grandfather, he still watches Monday Night Raw and stuff like that. He's 91. My dad still watches it, and it's kind of funny because my dad's just like, he's still one of those guys because he's not into the dirt sheets and stuff like that. And he's just like, there's no way like a Rey Mysterio can beat the Big Show. He's like, there's no way, physically impossible. How is that happening? And it's funny to see, my dad get a little bit wound up watching, shows and stuff. And it's just like, yeah, he still loves it.
He's one of those guys that is still real to him.
It's just, he knows a lot about it, but he's just like, I don't know. Like for me, I think the internet killed a lot of it. Everyone's all into the dirt sheets and stuff like that. I still like to be surprised. Like I don't read any of that. Like if there's a surprise entrance when I watching that pay-per-view or whatever, I'm surprised. Like that's a legit emotion. It's not like, oh, I know so-and-so's coming in 2 weeks or none of that. It's just, I don't know. It's just one of those things where I love it so much. I like to still be surprised. Even after all these years, I still like the pops, if you would. Like, oh my God, they're back.
yeah, that's true. Because I know for like a lot of the bigger pay-per-views, I like to stay away, from anything online, because then you start getting like, oh, this person's going to show up, or this person is rumored to show up, or this person, you've seen them at the airport. I know it's him type of thing. So like those type of things I try to stay away from, especially like now with WrestleMania coming up soon. I kind of just like, all right, I'm not gonna like look at a lot of like internet stuff, and it sucks because a lot of the things that I need to report, I have to look online. So it's like it's like a hit or miss type of thing. Like, do I really want to see it or do I don't?
Yeah. Like I said, you got to do your research. So unfortunately, you have to go online, and
yeah, exactly.
You're just like, scroll fast.
Yeah, definitely. Like growing up as a kid, obviously you watched like WWF and like WCW. Like what was your favorite?
Oh, WCW all the way. Growing up, obviously it was, the golden era of WWF, if you would. Of course that was intriguing, Ultimate Warrior, Hulk Hogan, the Hart Foundation. My favorite tag teams were Demolition. So I was like, oh my God. But as it started moving towards like the Attitude Era, I just wasn't a fan of the Attitude Era. I loved WCW just because at that time you started getting the luchadors and then the cruiserweights, and that stuff intrigued me. It wasn't like, TNA, yeah, whoa, like cool as a young boy. Of course, I was like, yeah, heck yeah. But to me, that wasn't wrestling. Now it became just a show. Let's give it, I call it cheap pop. What's a cheap pop? Oh, a girl can just flash real quick and those ratings go up. You get the cheap pop. But then WCW, you got guys like Dean Malenko, Rey Mysterio, Eddie Guerrero just putting on these quality matches. To me, that was pro wrestling. So that's why I was always fascinated more with WCW than WWE at the time. Get the E out of here or F out of here or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I said, growing up, it was a golden era of WWF. Still watch WCW. I like, the old stuff. But then as it started going towards like the Attitude Era style, the Monday Night Wars, if you would, I was always leaning towards WCW because like it was, to me, that was wrestling, so.
Yeah, I mean WCW, their cruiserweight division was like one of the best. I know WWF, like they tried to to match it, but the stars and the rosters that they had back then was unbelievable.
Oh yeah, and like you said, they tried to do it with the light heavyweight, and again, it was, I think what they failed on was it got too gimmicky. Aldo Montoya. That's what's that dude's name? Just Incredible. It's like if you just let him be him and let them wrestle and stuff like that instead of trying to do these corny gimmicks, I think that it would have succeeded a little bit better. But again, that's just as a fan looking in, so.
Exactly. So as a kid, all of us growing up, we all had action figures. What were you playing with when you was a small? What was little Tony playing with as a kid?
As a kid, I had LJNs. I had G.I. Joes, He-Man, Ninja Turtles. Silverhawks. I had the Silverhawks figures. Thundercats. But yeah, those were the figures. But I always played with like my G.I. Joes and my LJNs.
What was your go-to LJN?
Junkyard Dog.
Okay.
Hands down was like my favorite. I still remember the day I got him, like clear as day. That was like, he was my top guy, Junkyard Dog. He was undefeated. He never lost a match. Even to this day, he's still undefeated. But that was my go-to LJN was Junkyard Dog. So I still have him. I mean, he's a little beat up, but still got him. That's
good. So you have your original, like the one that you had when you was a kid.
Oh yeah, I still have my original LJNs. Those again, yeah. I mean, you're not going to display them, but for me, it's those are mine. That's my childhood. Right. Those are my memories. Yeah, I went out and bought a nice quality Junkyard Dog, but again, that's just for show. It's not. There's no sentimental with that one.
Right.
But I still got them all.
I wish I had a lot of my my toys when I was a kid, because I had like all the Ninja Turtles, Thundercats. I had like wrestling stuff, and all. I guess as I got older, and like we moved a lot, so it was like a lot of my stuff just kind of just like fell off to the wayside, and it's like if we could, I guess my parents was like, if we could bring it, we could bring it. If we can't, we can't, type of thing. But it's always good to like run into a collector to be like, oh, this is like. When I look at like LJNs or like, like the Hasbros and stuff like that, and like, yeah, this is like mine from when I was a kid. And, it's beat up, but it's mine because it brings so back, it brings back so many memories. And I think that's why, like that for me, I collect a lot of the stuff that I grew up having as a kid because it brings back those memories to me. It's not the original, but it's still good to like have that memory.
Oh, yeah. That's the thing with collecting. There's no wrong collection. People are going to collect what they like, some people collect stamps, coins. It doesn't matter what you collect. That's what you like. So it's funny too, like when I get people, oh, you still collect toys? And it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm collecting toys like you collect baby mamas. Like,
exactly.
Like this is what I like. So you don't have to like it. But for me, like you said, it's a nostalgia feeling. Like the G.I. Joes, they brought the new 6-inch line, which are virtually impossible to find. But I got lucky and found, all of them. But to me, those are cool because it's G.I. Joe in 6-inch form, but it's not the, oh my God, I need to have them because I'm so used to the 3 3/4 G.I. Joes, which that to me is more exciting, the hunt, because they re-release them too. And it's just the hunt to find those little ones. They're not as cool as the originals, but when you find it, you used to have the original package style, and you're just like, all of a sudden, you're just getting flooded with memories.
Oh yeah. I mean, for me, like trying to hunt down for GI Joes is the worst because, here in New York is like nearly impossible half the time. That you have to have like a little team of people to be like, hey, I'm gonna go out this day. If I find it, I'm gonna get some for you, type of thing. You know what I mean? Because it's like literally that bad. Like we wake up like early in the morning to try and be there at the same time that the employees get there and waiting, and these guys looking at us like, what are you here for, my GI Joes?
Yeah.
Like they already know, it's but yeah, so reading up a little bit about you, I have to do my homework. You had a football career.
I did. I had a pretty decent football career. I like to think so.
You played quarterback, right?
I was a quarterback, correct. And that was funny. I was a quarterback by complete just fluke. High school, where your freshman year, everyone's going out to see what position. I would have bet my life I was a tight end. I can catch. I can do good routes, but just wasn't blessed with speed. But I had hands. Like there was nothing I couldn't catch anything. I could just stick them on the hands, But one day we had a scrimmage game, and before the scrimmage, I'm just throwing the rock, just whatever, throwing it 65, 70 yards like it's nothing. And our quarterback at the time was struggling to throw, a 10-yard out.
Ooh.
And our coach was like, "You're our new quarterback." And I was like, "No."
He's like, "I want you."
Yeah, and I was like, "Well, no, I'm a tight end." He goes, "Well, I'll let you know right now. With our quarterback, you're going to be a blocking tight end." And I was like, "What's that mean?" He's like, "You'll never get the ball. You'll just block." So I was like, "Oh, fine." So end up playing quarterback. Again, coach seen something in me that I didn't see. My senior year, end up breaking school records, getting offers to quite a few colleges, end up going to University of Michigan. And then from there, it just, unfortunately for me, when I went there was the top 3 quarterbacks in the nation, including myself. Right. So playing time was slim to none. So I just started learning how to kick and long snap because why not? I got a lot of time on my hands.
Exactly.
And so long story short, I played quarterback, ended up playing arena football, had a little short career with arena, and then I had a couple of tryouts with some NFL teams. And then I just converted to linebacker because I love to hit. So when I was rolling out, I was going heads up with the corners and linebackers, and 9 out of 10 times I was winning. So my last year in arena, my coach was like, "Hey, we're going to convert you." And I was like, "To what?" And he's like, "Linebacker." And I was like, "Sweet." Because I used to tell I used to tell the defense, like when I line up under center, I'd be like, "Hey, you cross this line, I'm hitting you. You're making my highlight tape. I ain't making yours." So basically. And that's just, I had fun. If it was meant to be, I would have still been doing it, but can't cry over spilt milk. I got my memories, I got my jerseys, I got my championship rings. Like I've been there, done that, and I had a good career, but yeah, it was fun.
So how do you go from football to professional wrestling? Because like now we know you as Mr. Ego, the Machine.
Oh yeah.
But before you had people who knew you in like the football arena world.
Yeah. So actually I took, like I said, I've always loved pro wrestling, but for some reason I didn't know there was wrestling schools. That's how much I believed in pro wrestling. I didn't know there were schools. I thought you just got recruited and went to WCW and WWF and all those other places. And then once I found out there were schools, the ones I'd always find were back in the East Coast or the Midwest. And at the time I was playing football. So I was like, I have a career, but man, I would love to do that. Then I took a little detour after football. I started an MMA career. I started doing bare knuckle kickboxing, Muay Thai, Vale Tudo, jiu-jitsu tournaments, and MMA in general. So I started doing that. That picked up. Who knew? My first 5 fights went 5-0, 5 knockouts, and I was like, I guess I'm pretty good at this. And so that's where the Machine came from. My coach was like, "Dude, you're the Machine." And I was like, "What?" And he goes, "Yeah, the way you fight, because you have no remorse. Like my goal when I fight somebody is, if I punch you and I didn't feel nothing crack, I didn't hit you hard enough. Like my goal was to end your career when you signed that dotted line." And so that's where the Machine came from. He's like, "You're like a machine, no remorse. It's just go, go, go." I had one speed, and that was just seek and destroy.
Yeah, I wouldn't be in the ring with you then. No, thank you.
So I was actually training for a fight, and one of the personal trainers was a former wrestler. And he was like, oh, what are you doing? I go, I'm training for a fight. And he was like, oh, my buddy has a school out in Fremont, California. So I was like, oh, what? So he told me about it. Literally after that training session, I went down there to there happened to have practice at night, and signed up that night. Signed up that night. I still had 2 fights under my contract, and I let them know I still have 2 fights. I'm still going to compete, but after those 2 fights, I'm 100% committed to pro wrestling, and I haven't looked back since. This will be my 11th year, and I haven't looked back. I mean, I had a little setback with the broken neck, but hey, I'm back.
It happens to everybody. So,
Yeah.
who are some of your trainers that you started off with?
So my trainer was named Jason Styles.
Okay.
He was my trainer, and then we had Hawkeye Shane Cody. He was also a trainer. And then when Jason left, Chemo, he stepped up. But at that point, I was already in my career to where, I was helping out training with classes as well. But he was technically the head trainer. But the main guy who trained me was Jason Styles. And what I liked about him was he was just a no BS type coach. He wasn't going to tell you what you needed to hear or what you wanted to hear. He told us what we needed to hear. Like his big saying was, do you want to be good or do you want to be great? And they're just like, well, I want to be the man. So he's like, all right, then show me. In practice, like if we would lollygag, he would stop practice, yell at us, and be like, if you ain't ready to give it 100%, he's like, I'll call it right now. And we'll just go home. And, 10 out of 10 times, we're all like, nope, let's go. And then, boom, practice will pick up. And, I can honestly say, I feel a certain way towards him. We don't get along no more, but the respect factor of how he was as a coach, that's always going to have that respect. That will never go away. But at the end of the day, like I said, he was just a no BS type coach, which I liked. I don't want somebody to sugarcoat anything, because the worst thing, I feel you're crippling somebody if they're like, oh no, you're doing good, you're doing all right, and realistically you're not. Because at that point now you're either taking their money or whatever, and it's just like, just be honest, like, hey, this ain't for you. Or, he said that quite a few times to quite a few people. He's like, I'm gonna be honest with you, this isn't for you.
Right.
If you feel it's for you, show me. Because right now you're showing me you're just here to say you're at a pro wrestling school. So
yeah, I mean, and that's great that he did that, because the simple fact that you've seen so many people where they want to do something and then they end up just not really fitting in, but then the place that they're at is just more like, oh, I'm just gonna take his money just because I need the money and I need to keep my business open. But like, he's literally telling you, like, listen, like, don't waste your time. Just go home. Find something else.
Yeah, he was honest, and that's what I like. That's what I feel a trainer should be. I mean, that's the thing nowadays. It's like, honestly, the way he trains and the way the world is now, poor guy would just get complaint after complaint. Like, he never hit us, but he always yelled at us. But how people are, oh, he yelled at me and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, no, man, like, you need that. Like, to me, you need that tough love. And again, like I said, we don't see eye to eye now, but as a trainer, he's just an amazing ass trainer. Like, he helped out so many people. I mean, Bailey right now, Samora, or I forgot what she went under, WWE with the Indian thing. But like, he helped out a lot of us, and every single one of us will tell you that, yeah, he was probably hands down our best trainer that I've had, so.
I mean,
give him that props.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's good. So you said before that you had broken your neck, and then you took some time off. So like, what made you want to come back now? I mean, I remember seeing a post before where you say you was giving it another go. So like, what exactly, like, what was your why now? We know your why as far as like why you love wrestling as a kid. So like, what is your why now of coming back into pro wrestling?
It's the fact of, it's still the why. I love pro wrestling. And for me, it was, I left not on my terms. And that's what hurt the most. When you're getting told you can't do no more physical activity, that was football or rugby or MMA or just anything in general, jiu-jitsu, like, I couldn't even do that, because he told me the way it was is if I continued just taking these crazy bumps and playing football. Because again, when I played football too, I played semi-pro because a lot of my buddies were like, "Come back for a couple more years," and I was like, "Okay." And the mentality that I had was when I played football, it's just I'm hitting you, like I'm trying to hurt you. Like there's no way around. I mean, not like cheap shots, but I mean, legit, I'm trying to run through your chest as a linebacker. Like I'm trying to just, do that. And pro wrestling with the hardcore matches and stuff. It was just, for me coming back, I needed to come back. I needed to prove to myself that I can't go out like that. And then also too, when I came back with a huge, huge chip on my shoulder. I don't know if you can see my post recently, but I got a huge chip. It's just so many promotions, so many people in general just lost faith in me because of that injury. Just washed me off. Like he's done. He's done. And, for me, it's like, I don't really care to prove them wrong. My thing is I'm here to expose the weak. I'm here to expose the people that you think that are better than me. I'm not a lighter guy, but my cardio is on point and I'll out cardio any one of those people. I always say it too. I'm here to expose your champs because to me, they're paper champs, like you were handed a belt because I was injured. That's how I look at it. I was injured, so you got handed that title. And that's what fuels me right now. It's just, I know how good I am. I just needed to believe that mentally. Physically, I knew it. Mentally, I still had the doubt because of the injury, but realistically, it's just right now, it's just that fire, that motivation. Like, this weekend, I have a title match, and my goal is to win that belt, to prove to everyone who lost faith in me that I still got something left in the tank, and like there's a certain AEW guy that I talked to, and the way he kind of responded back to me kind of lit a fire under me because it's like, he kind of said my look. He's like, I like your look, but I don't like your look. And I was like, I don't know what that means. And
Yeah,
like,
I don't. I was about to ask you, what exactly does that mean? Like, I like your look, but then I don't like it. So like,
so basically, what he was saying was he likes my look, the physicality. I look like a brawler, like a legit fighter. And I was like, well, kind of am. And he's like, but I don't like your look because, you're a little rough around the edges. And in my head, I'm looking at him like, bro, you're not like the skinniest dude either. Like,
exactly.
but in my head, I was just like, okay, you're telling me I'm rough around the edges, but you like this part. But then 90% of your roster have dad bods and this and that.
Look
And
at
it's just like,
Eddie Kingston.
that's what I'm saying. I'm like, okay, cool. So again, I didn't take it as, F you, man. I know what I can do. I took it as, okay, cool. Like, sweet. Let me work on this part a little bit more. Let me just fine tune some things, and then we can talk in a couple more months. And if it's still you're still interested, cool. If not, hey man, at least physically and mentally I feel better.
Right.
So that's just how I took it. It's like, all right, cool, challenge accepted, dude.
I mean, and that's great because we all need that challenge, in our lives as far as like, getting that push, And I remember looking at your your post before, and I was just like, man, that's great that you're getting back into something that you love,
Oh, yeah.
I think that's something that we all need to strive for, especially now with this whole pandemic that was this going on. A lot of the time we're just sitting at home now, and we're really not doing a lot of the things that we used to love to do, before. So like, I'm glad to see that you're out, you're going out there and that you're killing it. And, you have a match coming up. I mean, obviously when this recording comes out, you already had the match and you already won in my eyes,
For
but,
sure.
I can't wait to see what else is to come, for the ego,
Yeah, I mean, like I said, sky's the limit for myself right now. The promotions that have been hitting me up that didn't lose faith in me, if you would, I told them straight out, you're getting 100%. Like, I don't care what kind. Like for me, I can adapt to who I'm working. So if you want a hardcore match, shoot, let's go. Like, I love those. If you want a standard technical wrestling match, I got you. If you want a lucha match, I got you. Like for me, I can adapt to whoever I'm working. It's not like, oh, I'm a brawler. And that's what kind of irritated me my first 7 years of my career. A lot of guys were like, oh, you're a big dude, so you can't do nothing. It's just blah, 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 kick, punch, raw. And then it's like dominate, 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 dominate. And then schoolboy, you lose. And I'm like, cool. So then I got to the point where I got lucky enough to where I got to be around Hall of Famers and stuff. And, one of my highlights was Roddy Piper. We had a show which was like our WrestleMania, and he was on that a part of that, and I did my match. It was against Chris Masters, and I came back and he pulled me aside. He was like, "Hey kid, let me talk to you." And I was like, "Uh-oh."
Yeah, it was like, "Oh man, I'm in trouble."
I was like, I ruined this match and I'm about to get ripped by Roddy Piper. And he literally told me, he goes, "You had this crowd eating out of your hand." He's like, "I like that." He goes, because at the time I was still relatively new, and he was like, "Yeah, you still had some, you can tell you're a little green." He's like, "But your heel work was perfect because everyone truly hated you. So when Chris Masters finally put the master lock on you, the crowd just went crazy." He goes, "That's rare because the selling, again, it's pretty dead in this business now. It's selling. No one wants to sell. Everyone wants to look tough and get my stuff in type thing." And to me, growing up watching Bret Hart can take a turnbuckle like no one's business. So when I started pro wrestling, that was my goal. I wanted to be better than Bret Hart at taking a turnbuckle.
Mm-hmm.
So when I take a turnbuckle, I mean, you're going to literally go, ooh, because that's my goal, to be better than Bret Hart at taking a turnbuckle. And it's a little things like that, again, I don't need to be known as, oh, I do 5,000 super kicks. I can do a 450.
Right.
Like when people watch my match, I want them to be like, that was a damn good match. Like, and then not one time do they mention who won or who lost. And that's my goal. Like, I don't need to put 5,000 moves in. I can get over by doing one move. And I have gotten over by just doing one move in a match, but it's just my cheap heat and my basic, like one of the things I like to do, because everything's social media, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I get the beat down and they're on their floor. I grab them by their face and I tell everyone to get their cameras ready, smile for the gram, and I just rip their face.
Oh
So,
man.
I just do little things like that. And of course I don't know. I like that. I don't need to do the 450. Can I do a 450? Yes. Can I do the buckshot? Yes. Can I do crazy stuff? Absolutely. But why? That's my thing. It's like, I'm going to do what I'm good at. It's just going to look really awkward that I do a buckshot and then hit the guy and get on the rope and do a 450. Is it going to look cool? Yeah, but realistically, wrestling wise, logic makes no sense.
No.
So I don't know. That's just how I think.
So now we know. So now we know why you got back into pro wrestling. You did send me a message before stating that you got back into collecting.
Yes.
So what got you back into collecting, and what are you collecting now?
So I stepped away because, like, my collection that I have currently before I got back into it was, original San Francisco toy makers, the big LJN style. Like, I got all those. The ECW figures, Hasbros. I got all the Hasbros. Again, I have my childhood ones that are in really good shape still, which surprises me. But I have, the LJNs, Hasbros, original San Francisco toy makers, the ECWs. So those were my core figures that I've had, Jack's BCAs. Like, I got tons of those. And what's cool now is you can buy them for like $5 on the internet or online. So, but I was never really into Mattel. Like, as cool as the figures were, it didn't have no sentimental value. But then I was like watching your page and a couple other pages, and I'm just like, man, like the photos you guys were taking and the excitement of opening that box from ringside. I was just like, I love that feeling. So yeah, I just started collecting the Mattels a little bit, and then the AEW figures, and I was like, I'm just gonna get series 1, and that's it. And then I seen series 2, and I was like, okay, I'll get series 2. And then, like I told you, was it yesterday or day before, I went to Walmart and I found entire series 3, and I was like, oh well, I guess I'll get series 3 too. And so yeah, I guess I opened up that floodgate.
You got that bug again, as everybody says. Now you're living that fig life all over again.
Oh yeah, and I love it. And I mean, speaking of, just what just came in today in the mail.
Oh yes, that's beautiful.
So I got to represent. So I'll be sending you photos of me rocking that.
Definitely,
who knows? I might wear it for the taping this Saturday.
Hey, definitely. You let me know. You send that picture over. I'll definitely start posting it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
As much as I can. So we'll wrap things up. Final thought. Is there anything that you want to tell the people that you want to plug in now. So now is your time. Besides, us going through a brief history of who Tony Vargas is, what is there more to come?
Gosh, you ain't seen the last of me. I'm telling you, you can follow me on Instagram. That's all I have. It's Mr. Ego, one word, _Tony_Vargas. Follow my journey. Again, I have a chip on my shoulder. I feel I have a lot to prove. Follow my wrestling career as well as my collecting career. I mean, as you can see in the back, I got into Hot Toys, and that's a wormhole you don't really want to go down. But but all in all, I just enjoy this journey. Like tomorrow's not guaranteed, and this is kind of like I want to go out my way. And if this is my last year of pro wrestling, I'm going out my way, 100%. 100% my way.
and that's the best thing to do, is just going out the way you want to go out to.
Oh yeah.
But man, Tony, thank you so much for coming on here. It's been a pleasure of just getting to know you, and just I want to continue, knowing more about you and seeing your journey as you go into it. You see my son here is in the background. He kind of makes guest appearances now on these shows because I started recording from home now. So he comes in from time to time and pops in. He's into karate now, so he's probably, probably gonna send him to you. Let him. You can train him a little bit.
Hey, that'd be dope.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is Tony the Machine Vargas, and that is another episode. We are wrapping up now. Thank you for tuning in.
Can I show him a flip?
No.